Hello, welcome to the Bidders Conference for Request for Proposal 5217028. My name is Adriana. Let's get started with going over the conference agenda. This conference agenda is broken up into 4 parts as follows. I'm going to start with introducing myself. My name is Adriana Barajas, and I am the procurement official and point of contact for this RFP. The best way to contact me is through email. If you have any questions, please email them to me directly. We also have on the call the DGS procurement team and representatives from Caltrans, California Integrated Travel Project. Next, we're going to go over some ground rules. We will not be taking live questions today, so your microphones are muted. However, the state will answer pre-submitted questions. All oral responses will not be binding to the state. All questions submitted will be answered in a Q&A set and posted to CalifProcure. Finally, the Bidders Conference is not intended to be an all-inclusive review of the RFP. We will only be going over highlights. Bidders are responsible for reading the RFP in its entirety. Now we're going to move on to the next section. Overview of RFP and important details. Let's begin with Section 1 highlights. There are 2 categories to bid, Category A and Category B. Bidders may bid on one or both categories. Awards will be made by category as described in Section 6 of the RFP. Each category has potential for multiple awards. The MSA shall be available for use by transit agencies only. Awardees shall allow transit agencies outside of California to participate under the resulting agreements. Each transit agency will determine whether the use of MSAs is consistent with its procurement policies and regulations. This MSA is a 5-year term with options to extend. User agreements must be completed within 36 months following the MSA term end date, so there is potential for the user agreements to be in place for 12 years. Transit agencies may seek grants from the Federal Transit Administration and/or Caltrans. Therefore, bidders must comply with Exhibit F FTA clauses. There are many key action dates, but the most important is the final proposal due date, which is Friday, August 13, 2021 at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please make sure you review Attachment 1 key action dates and any addendums that may impact those dates. Next, we want to review Section 2 highlights. There are many different types of RFP elements. Mandatory. All items labeled M are required. Failure to meet a mandatory requirement will cause your proposal to be non-responsive. Mandatory scored. All items labeled MS are required and will be scored. Non-mandatory. All items labeled NM are desirable but are not required. Non-mandatory scored. All items labeled NMS are desirable but are not required and if offered will be scored. As a reminder, all proposals submitted will become public record after the Notice of Intent to Award has been posted. This RFP allows for the alternative protest process. Bidders have 2 days after the Notice of Intent to Award has been posted to protest. Let's move on to Section 3. Bidders must submit a proposal for at least one category. There are different requirements for each category. If a bidder wants to bid for both categories, they will need to meet separate requirements. Next, we're going to talk about some requirements that apply to both categories. Please make sure you submit all administrative requirements as identified in the RFP. Each category has terms and conditions depending on the bidder's proposal. For example, Exhibit C, IT general provisions apply to both categories. Exhibit D, Software as a Service general provisions applies to Category B. Depending on the proposal, Exhibit D may also apply to Category A if SAF services are offered. Bidders must read Exhibit A SOW and agree to the terms and conditions that apply to their proposal. By submitting a proposal, you're agreeing to Attachment 7, Proposed Form of Agreement. If you are awarded, this will be your agreement. Let's move on to the technical sections. If bidding on Category A, the bidder must meet the requirements outlined in Exhibit A, Scope of Work, Exhibit 8.1, Performance Measures, and Exhibit 8.2, Pad Specifications. Bidders are required to offer mandatory products and services within Category A as outlined here. This table can be found in RFP section 3.1.1.1, page 20. If you do not submit for a mandatory item, your proposal will be deemed non-responsive. If you do not submit for a non-mandatory item, you will not be considered for an award for that item. Listed here are technical attachments that bidders must submit for category A. Let's go over those now. Attachment 3A. Attachment 3A is in PDF template form. Page 1 and 2 are fillable forms, but you're also required to submit a technical narrative following the template provided. Each line requires different information to be evaluated. For example, notice that B3D inspection use case is a non-mandatory scored item. Others are mandatory scored. You must read and respond specifically to each item. Attachment 4A. Attachment 4A is an Excel template to identify pad devices. Instructions are on the form and each field has specific instructions. You cannot add rows, but if more rows are needed, reach out to me immediately. Attachment 5A. Attachment 5A is an Excel template to identify integrations. Again, instructions are on the form and each field has specific instructions. Please note, if you are awarded category A, you will have to update this attachment throughout the MSA term. Let's talk about customer references. Customer references are very important for each category. There are 3 required for each category. If the bidder is bidding on both categories, 6 different customer references will be required. The state will contact the customer references to rate performance on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest rating and 5 being the highest. If the bidder's customer references do not respond to the state or ratings are below average, proposals may be considered non-responsive. Please refer to RFP section 3.1.6 for more information. Now let's cover category B. If bidding on category B, the bidder must meet the requirements outlined in Exhibit A, scope of work, and Exhibit 8.1, performance measures. Bidders are required to offer all mandatory products and services within category B as outlined here. This table can be found in RFP section 3.1.1.2, page 21. If you do not submit for a mandatory item, your proposal will be deemed non-responsive. If you do not submit for a non-mandatory item, you will not be considered for an award for that item. Listed here are technical attachments that the bidders must submit for category B. Let's go over those now. Attachment 3B. Attachment 3B is in PDF template form. Page 1 and 2 are fillable forms, but you are also required to submit technical narrative following the template provided. Each line requires different information to be evaluated. Attachment 3B is different from Attachment 3A. For example, notice that B3D PCI compliance is a mandatory scored item. You must read and respond specifically to each item. Attachment 4B. Attachment 4B is an Excel template to identify transit processing services. Instructions are on the form and each field has specific instructions. You cannot add rows, but if more rows are needed, reach out to me immediately. Attachment 5B. Attachment 5B is an Excel template to identify integrations. Again, instructions are on the form as well as each field has specific instructions. If you are awarded category B, you will have to update this attachment throughout the MSA term. Moving on to customer references. Category B also requires customer references. Again, 3 required for each category. If the bidder is bidding for both categories, 6 different customer references will be required. The state will contact the customer references to rate on a performance scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest rating and 5 being the highest. If bidders' customer references do not respond to the state or ratings are below average, proposals may be considered non-responsive. Please refer to section 3.1.6 in the RFP for more information. Let's talk about costs. There are 2 cost workbooks. It is important to use the correct attachment. 2A is for category A and 2B is for category B. If bidding for both categories, use both attachments, but keep them separate. Do not attempt to combine the 2 cost workbooks. Your proposal will be disqualified. The state will email an invitation to a live conference event once the cost opening date is known. Attachment 2A. Here you can see Attachment 2A, Category A Cost Workbook is an Excel template. Note, there are multiple tabs. For example, the first tab after instructions is Standalone Validator Devices. For this tab, you are to enter the lowest cost unit in the first yellow line. Enter your breakpoints to indicate the volume discounts for each SKU. Each tab has different structures for pricing, so it is important to read the instructions. Tabs A through D are for devices, and tabs E through J are for services associated with the pads. Attachment 2B. Attachment 2B Category B Cost Workbook is also an Excel template. Note, there are multiple tabs. For example, the first tab after instructions is Transit Processing Services. For this tab, prices are based on fixed breakpoints. Each tab has different structures for pricing, so it is important to read the instructions. Tabs A through F are for services. Let's now go over the proposal format. A bidder must email proposals for each category with attachments. Clearly identify the category you are bidding on in the subject line. For example, if a bidder is submitting a proposal for both categories, send 2 emails. One email will be for category A with all the attachments, and then another email for category B with all the attachments. Remember to attach the correct files. Please do not email any proposals to me. Proposals are to be sent to the proposal email box. As a reminder, do not send unnecessary documents such as promotional brochures, which may cause your email to exceed 10 megabytes. The state's mail server may automatically reject excessively large emails. Please send your proposals early, well before the 5 p.m. Pacific Standard deadline. Now let's go over some highlights in Section 6. This table is a high level of the points possible for each category. Refer to Section 6 of the RFP for a detailed breakdown. The maximum points are 1,000 per category. It is possible to not win an award in a category based on total score. Remember, the 7 highest scores will win an award in Category A. The 5 highest scores will win an award in Category B. Being competitive is key. Now I will answer some pre-submitted questions. Question number 1. Can we submit multiple bids? For instance, A, submit a bid as a group entity where a group company primes the bid and work as subcontract to affiliate companies, and or B, submit a bid as a prime bidder and subcontract XY scope of work, and or C, participate in a bid where we act as a subcontractor for another prime bidder. State's response, yes, however, only one unique bid from a prime contractor in each category will be considered. A, yes, but only one unique bid in each category will be considered. B, yes, any subcontractors will need to be identified in the proposal. C, yes, however, refer to RFP section 3.1.17 where the state has no contractual relationships with subcontractors. Number 2, is there any escalation allowed on the rates on a yearly basis, and if so, what escalation rate or formula can be used? The state's response, the state will issue a forthcoming addendum. Question number 3, are we allowed to submit an alternate bid for Category A? Example, a bid for an alternate pad. State's response, no, all pads meeting specifications must be identified in the proposal. Question 4, if the agreement term of 5 years is extended for 2 additional 2-year periods and a transit agency signs an agreement in year 9, will that extend the agreement by 36 months from the date of the agreement, effectively making the term 12 years? State's response, yes, there is potential that a user agreement can be in place for 12 years. The MSA term is an initial 5-year term with 2 additional 2-year options to extend. If a user agreement is in place prior to the MSA end date, that user agreement may continue for 36 months. Question 5, the RFP does not include an AFC back office in its scope. Therefore, the responsibility for the fare calculation is not clear. Please, can you elaborate on this point? State's response, fare calculation is performed by a combination of the pad contractor and the transit processor, or is assigned to the transit processor per the user agreement. Please refer to Exhibit A SOW, including but not limited to RFP Section 6.12 and 7.1.2. Question number 6. Rates for pads may be subject to exchange rate variation. What is the base date for the calculation of exchange rates for the RFP purposes? State's response. Pricing must be submitted in US dollars in the final proposal. MSA pricing offered to transit agencies are maximums throughout the term of the agreement. And finally, question 7. For a newly formed USA company branch, will the experience of the parent company be acceptable? State's response. Yes, the experience of the parent company may be accepted for one unique bid in each category. If the parent company is involved in multiple bids, the state at its discretion will reject one or all bids from the parent company. That's all the questions we have for this Q&A set, and you will find them posted on CaliProcure after the conference. Any additional questions, please email me. In closing, here are several takeaways. It is important to read the entire RFP, including exhibits and attachments. Pay attention to mandatory and mandatory scored items. If you have questions, please email me immediately. The link displayed can be used to access this RFP. This is where you can view any changes to the RFP and where Q&As will be published. Do not wait until the last day to read the RFP. This concludes the Bidders Conference. Thank you all for attending.